Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be interviewing a comedian that a lot of you mainstream people may not know, but a lot of you people who are heavily deep into the stand-up comedy community well know, and that is Betsy Salkind. I've been aware of Betsy for quite a while now, and I've been Facebook friends with her for quite a while now. And she's got an amazing story about how she came to be a comedian and everything. And I will be interviewing her today, and I'm pretty excited about that. Um, Today would have been Dennis Hopper's 82nd birthday. So, happy birthday, Dennis Hopper, and rest in peace. So, without further ado, here is my interview with Betsy Salkind. Hi, Betsy.
Yep.
Hey, it's Tommy.
Hey.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. We finally meet voice to voice.
I know, right?
Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I first became aware of you probably about 12 or so years ago. I was watching CNN, and Alison Arngrim was talking about how she had been molested as a child, and she was doing stand-up comedy, one-woman show stuff, and I was so fascinated by this. I was reading the internet, and an article about her. Also, there was also a mention of you, and that tugged my heartstrings a little bit. And when YouTube became popular, I watched you on YouTube and just thought you were fucking hysterical. And I friended you on Facebook, and that's how everything came together.
Oh, that's great. I never knew that Allison was the connection, and that's great.
Yes.
I guess we never know what we do, the things that we do that actually reach people.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. What year did you begin doing stand-up, and where?
I started out in Boston in the 80s, and it's a little bit vague about sort of when exactly I started. I think I probably really started around 85, but it was pretty occasional in the first few years.
Right.
But by 89, I had basically quit all my day jobs and was just doing comedy. So.
That's cool. Wow.
And I was in Boston until 93, when I kind of felt like, okay, I gotta go to either New York or LA if I'm gonna really pursue this. So first I went to New York and then LA.
Wow. So late 80s you started in Boston. Yep. And who was there at that time?
Well, lots of people you would know probably. Louis C.K. was still there. Dave Cross. There were so many. Janine Garoppolo was actually there in the beginning. She then went to Texas. Most of the women had to go to some other city before they really got a break. Wendy Liebman, Paula Poundstone, who went to LA and San Francisco respectively. I can't even. There were quite a few. Brian Kiley was there.
Frankie Bastille.
Yep.
Don Gavin.
Yep. Yeah. So the Boston guys were there before me and stayed after, and of course Barry Crimmins.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of you. Well, definitely all the old Boston guys.
Nice. Yeah, I love that video of you doing that bit, the Emperor's Getting Fucked.
Oh, so you saw the performance that got me banned, yeah.
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 I don't know how aware you are of the Bay Area comedy scene nowadays, but it's just as worse as it was 30 years ago in Boston, I'll tell you.
Mm. Like how specifically? No, I'm not questioning it. I'm just wondering what you mean. You mean in terms of sexism and racism and stuff?
Sexism, racism, and just the business in general. I mean, one of the worst things that ever happened, as good as it is, it's still a curse, is that all the dive bars and coffee houses jumped on the open mic comedy bandwagon, and it spawned all these douchebag guys who have no talent, who do comedy, and they get up to the high ranks of performing at the Punchline or the Improv, and they use and abuse their power, and they hire their other douchebag friends to be parts of these showcases, and they're not even passionate about comedy. They just need disposable income for their drug habits or their illegitimate children. And so many great comedians don't get seen.
I came up to, I actually lived in the Bay Area from 2003 through 2006, and it was, it was as if I had, like, basically, the classic scene wanted me to, like, start from the bottom again, go hang out, maybe do an open mic, and
Yeah.
and by then I'd been doing comedy for quite a long time, been on the Tonight Show, and I was just like, forget it. But I did sort of find all these alternate venues there that really, it really helped me to kind of move my act in a much more interesting, more creative way. It had sort of gotten a bit stale for me, and then I just kind of found this whole new voice when I was there. But again, it was working alternate venues. It was there was a series then called Viva Variety,
Right.
and which was a variety show, and mostly I did a lot of like gay friendly shows or feminist shows or whatever the alternative shows were. That's what I was doing. And then the Throckmorton in Mill Valley
Yep.
has been a pretty steady place where I perform, and I'm actually going to be there next Tuesday night, the 22nd.
I saw that. I really wish I could go. I like the Throckmorton a lot.
I wish you could go too, but I come a couple times a year, so maybe next time we'll meet up there.
Yeah, that would be great. I started in 2006 in San Francisco at the Brainwash Cafe.
Oh yeah. Tony Sparks, right?
Yep, Tony Sparks.
Yeah. So that was really the community that I hung out with when I was there. Because I couldn't even. The only time I ever performed at like Cobb's or the Punchline was if there was a fundraiser and somebody specifically asked for me.
Yeah. There's just such an oversaturation of comedians in the Bay Area that you're lucky if you play a show like that.
Yeah.
I got to play the Improv like 5 times in 2016. Part of this this open mic contest thing that they were doing, and I was lucky I got to go on that for 4 times, and then I got to be booked for an actual showcase the 5th time I got to do it. And
so there's an Improv in San Francisco?
In San Jose.
Okay. Yeah. There was actually one in San Francisco that closed sometime last millennium. But I used to go to San Francisco a lot in the early days of my career, the early 90s. And at that point there was an Improv there, and I did occasionally perform there. But it closed before I got to the West Coast.
Mm-hmm. So then, so you went to New York first, you said, and
yeah. So I actually had considered moving to San Francisco around the time that I, was like, I gotta get out of Boston. I'm never, I've kind of hit the ceiling here, at least for a woman comic, and I gotta go somewhere else. And I loved San Francisco, and I really thought about that, but at that point the economy had started to turn, and it was just kind of clear that it wasn't going to be a really good move, and it was actually very similar to Boston in a lot of ways, and
yep.
I wanted something different, so I went to New York, and that was great, but of course I ran up a lot of debt living there, just living on credit cards. And while I was there, I won like a little contest at the, I'm trying to think of the name of it might come to me, but anyway, there was a downtown cabaret place, and they had a contest, and I won that, and then I, decided to make a big deal about that, and I put out like a press release, and I sent out packages to like 100 agents and managers, and I think 97 of them were in New York, and 3 were in LA. Mm-hmm. And one of the LA people responded and said, "Oh, we'd love to fly you out to LA and meet you," and so that happened, and then they said, "Come to LA, we'll send you out for pilot season." And I came out to LA, and they never sent me anywhere, but I ended up passing at all of the comedy clubs. Even though in Boston, like, I never worked in the clubs after my banning. Mm-hmm. And so I just moved to LA. So I only ended up being in New York for a year and a half.
And while you were there, you got to be a writer on Saturday Night Live.
No, actually, I didn't write for Saturday Night Live. I wrote for Saturday Night Special, which was out of LA, and that was a 6-episode, short-lived variety show on Fox that replaced Mad TV for a little bit.
Okay.
So it gets confused with Saturday Night Live a lot because it's has a very similar name. I'm sure they did that on purpose. But it was a variety show that Roseanne was one of the executive producers on, and that's actually how I ended up getting the job on writing for the Roseanne sitcom.
Yeah, you wrote a classic episode of Roseanne, Roseambo.
You could call that a classic episode. It was actually, it's sort of funny because we wrote really every episode that season. We wrote together as a staff, mm-hmm. And then the writing assignments were somewhat random. So I just happened to be assigned that one, but it has the distinction of being the lowest rated Roseanne episode in the history of the program.
Oh.
Mostly because the week before it was a really bad episode. So.
Well, you can't take full credit for that.
I can't, but it was actually a pretty amazing experience writing for that show.
Yeah, I remember that episode had what's his name, Boom Boom Washington from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
And that was at the time Alan Steven was writing.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, Alan Steven was not just writing; he started as a writer, and he ended up the season as the showrunner.
Yeah. It was Lois Bromfield still there?
No, Lois wasn't there anymore. I think she was already living in New York. Can't be sure, but I love Lois. I knew her from the Comedy Store.
Yeah, I had her on. She's a lot of fun. And I had Carrie Snow on the other day.
Yeah. Well, Carrie is a lot of how I ended up getting that job because my squirrel impression was already, I guess, a thing. And Roseanne had heard about it, mm-hmm. and was asking, who's that squirrel? And Carrie said, I know who that is because I knew her from the Comedy Store also. Mm-hmm. So she took an old VHS tape of it to Roseanne. And at that time, the squirrel ate a big piece of matzah, and Roseanne wanted it for a Hanukkah special they were going to do on ABC, but then the network decided that the Hanukkah special was too Jewish, so they canceled it.
Wow. What do you think of the reboot?
To be honest, I haven't watched it. I can't bring myself to watch it. I'm so kind of horrified at Roseanne's politics.
Me too. Yeah. I saw the pilot. I saw the second episode. The politics have me thrown off, but I do like the fact that her grandson is a little effeminate. I like that.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything else I know about it,
mm-hmm.
It sounds great, but it's like at this point, if you still support Trump, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I just can't go there.
Mm-hmm. One thing I do have to say, though, the writing is as sharp and clever as it always was.
Yeah.
I have to say that.
Well, it should be. They have Wanda Sykes is writing for it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then, so you acted in an episode of Arliss.
I did. Later.
Yeah. How'd you get that role?
I guess I auditioned for it. I met Robert Roll when I was working for Roseanne, because he was good friends with Alan Stevens, and so I think I met him at like the rap party or something, and then they brought me in to read for a part on that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
I played I don't know if I was bisexual or lesbian photographer, but
had you
essentially ambiguous photographer.
Yeah.
Character.
Had you been trying to be an actress too?
You know, it's funny. I in the beginning, yes, I definitely wanted that for a long time. In fact, that's what I was pursuing when I ended up in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really when I moved to San Francisco in 2003, and I kind of took leave. I went on withdrawal from the unions because I, knew there wasn't going to be a lot of work there. And then when I was up there, and I was really like very sad to leave all that. I was not happy about leaving my career here and my age and all that. But I discovered when I was there that I actually I never liked auditioning, and I didn't miss it at all. And I filled my time with writing, or starting to write new things, books and plays and things, and also just stand up. Getting back into stand up and really. And when I moved back to LA in 2006, I never really took up acting again. I mean, if somebody offered me a role, I would do it, but in general, I just didn't pursue it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing theater work before I got into comedy and stuff. I've been doing it since high school, and there's times I want to act and times I don't want to. But
yeah, totally.
For the most,
and I almost always enjoy the acting, but I never enjoyed the auditioning and that whole.
Yeah, that could be the worst.
Yeah.
So what year do you think you got to the Comedy Store?
95.
95.
That happened pretty much immediately when I came. I just came to visit LA, really. I was like, I sublet my place in New York for 6 weeks, but ended up staying out here for 3 months, and at the end of which I just went back, packed up, and moved out, in part because I did pass at the Comedy Store, and at that point I was working, a lot. I mean, almost every night at either the Comedy Store, the Improv, or the Laugh Factory.
Mm-hmm. And that was around the time, that was just after Joe Rogan had gotten there.
Yeah, he was definitely there. He was, I don't actually, I guess I just assumed he'd been there for a while because he was a definite fixture.
Yeah, he got there, I think, around 94 when he did his short-lived series Hardball before News Radio. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was so funny because everybody kind of, the Comedy Store had this reputation of being a really rough scene, and, and I was always a feminist comic, but I was very at home there. And what was nice about it was at the time, Mitzi was booking it herself, and they were, every show was very diverse. There were lots of women and minorities. You didn't have to have special nights for anybody. And that changed a lot. I mean, later, when she stopped booking it, and it was back to like 1 woman to 14 men, and started to look like every other club.
Yeah. The three times I've been there, I'll tell you, I feel really safe and at home over there. I went to LA for like 8 days a couple of years ago, and I tried to get on potluck night.
Yeah.
And I could just feel the presence of dead comedians in that place. It was very ominous. I thought I saw like this smoke debris coming from like a neon light in the OR there.
Oh yeah, the building was probably just falling apart.
Yeah. I just felt so at peace there. I mean, it was such a good feeling, and trying to move to LA so bad, it's just hard,
Yeah. But, yeah, and when I got here, it was what I call affordably undesirable, but now it's really not that anymore.
Hmm. And you got there during like that the beginning of that dark period after Kinnison had died and the place got kind of dead for a while.
Yep, I was there then. Yep.
Yeah, wow. I'm always hearing stories about it on the Comedy Store podcast. Like,
oh yeah,
like,
I was just over there the other night. There was a memorial for Mitzi, and I have never seen that many comics in one place. It was kind of an amazing, evening, just in so many ways. But it was like so many generations of comics all there, and it's nice to hear that the store is like back. All the rooms are selling out all the time, and it's back in a good place.
Yeah, Carrie told me she was going to be going to that, and that it was probably going to be huge.
It was. They actually they carpeted the parking lot, like this really quite nice black carpeting. Mm-hmm. Very nicely installed, I might add. I mean, it was just like it was surprising. It was really well done, and it was all comics. It was like, the entire place had really been turned over to the family of comics.
Mm-hmm. I have to say though, those headshots in the OR, those are spooky.
Oh yeah. I've got a couple of really old ones in there. Got my name up on the wall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a big day. And that's actually, I actually met Roseanne at the Comedy Store also. Mm-hmm. So it was a pretty important part of my career, I would say.
How long were you there consistently?
Pretty much from 95 to 2003 when I left. I was a regular there. Mm-hmm. And then after I got back, things were different.
Yeah. And then, weren't you on Last Comic Standing?
Briefly, yeah. And actually, I was on it at the time that I was living in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So I had I think the Squirrel is on there, maybe.
Yeah. I attempted to audition in 2007, but in Arizona. I briefly lived out there in 2007, and I was in line for 8 hours. I was so glad I didn't get in because I was not ready. I was only just under a year into comedy. I'm glad I didn't go. And people I do know who auditioned and didn't make it, they said they saw like, agents talking to the producers or whoever, and they said it was bullshit,
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the earlier, but I know for sure at some point a lot of it was sort of it was booked like any other show. Yeah. And it was mostly professional comics on it, and then the audition was part of the show and part of the process, but it was the chances of ever getting on from one of those was not very good.
No. I've auditioned for America's Got Talent 3 times, and this last time I was like, damn it. God, and I came so close, too.
Oh, that's great. Do you know Vicky Barbalak?
That name sounds familiar.
She's a really wonderful comic, and she's a longtime friend of mine from the Comedy Store, originally from the La Jolla Comedy Store, and then later LA. But she's on this round of America's Got Talent. Nice. Kind of excited to see that.
Nice. She's from. She started at the La Jolla one. She probably knows Bobby Lee very well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and Bobby Lee was around when I was there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know he got there probably like I think Mitzi had to like fire everyone and then start over or something at the La Jolla or something like that. That's how he got to the West Hollywood one.
Oh, I don't know actually. There's so much history I know nothing about. I mean, I was shocked at how much I heard about just at the memorial that I was like, really? All that was going on and I was here?
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Lot went on.
Yeah. When's the last time you had talked to Mitzi?
Oh, it would have been a while ago. quite a long time. I was going to say before she got sick, but she may have been sick for a while and just we didn't know.
Yeah.
I can't really say, but it was a good 10 years at least.
Yeah. So you started doing one-woman shows, right?
I actually did. My first one-woman show was back in maybe the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The second one I did was in 92, and then those were both when I was in Boston. And then after I was the Roseanne show ended the first time around, I wrote a show called Anne Frank Superstar,
mm-hmm.
which is a one-woman show, and I did that in a bunch of places here in LA and also in Vancouver and New York and Boston. That's a really fun show. I mean, at some point I may update it and do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm working on a one-man show idea thing that I was procrastinating it for like 7 years, but now I think I'm ready for it. It just getting a theater to like cooperate is going to be the hard part and stuff, but I have an idea for one.
Yeah, one-person shows can be great, and also, it's just one person, so it's easy for them to produce it, and yeah, it is a lot of work goes into doing that, but once you got it, it can be really great.
Yeah. What? Do you know Marga Gomez?
I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this. A couple of years ago, she did that one show, and it got her all the way to New York, and I don't think.
Oh, she has quite. I mean, she has probably more one-woman shows than anybody, and they're all really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's been touring for many years with the different shows.
Yeah, she's had a lot of one-woman shows, and oh god, I remember seeing her when I was 10 years old. She was on one of the comic reliefs, and I thought she was funny, and I thought she was beautiful. I was like, who's this one? She was like, her and Carlos Mencia were like the only two that I didn't know on that particular one. I was like, wow, they're pretty good. It's like the future of comedy. And then, of course, Carlos disgraced it, but...
And Margaret didn't. She's such a good actress.
I've never seen her act.
It's fun to watch her.
Yeah, I've never seen her act.
Well, her one-person shows are largely, it's like all characters. They're almost like plays, but she plays everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying I've never seen her act in like a movie or TV or something.
Oh, yeah, I haven't either, but she certainly could.
Mm-hmm. I think that one-person shows are like the future of stand-up because the comedy clubs are getting so corporate now. I think eventually all comedians, both amateur and old, are going to get tired of the comedy clubs. Once they have that one, that one business fuck up that's going to piss them off, they're going to probably go to the theaters and do their own one-person shows.
Well, it would be nice if there were, I've always almost preferred working in theaters, because one of the problems with the comedy clubs is that people go, they don't necessarily go to see a particular comic. They just go, oh, we're going to go see some comedy, and maybe they're expecting, Carlos Mencia or something. Like they're not going to be expecting me, for example. So it's, but if I do a theater or some other kind of venue, people are coming because they know, because they want to see what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're not as drunk generally, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's good for my kind of comedy.
Oh, yeah. I know a guy, he did stand-up comedy a couple times and then quit just because he couldn't handle the drunk people.
Yeah. I mean, like, Mitzi was good because she always put me on the 8 o'clock shows instead of the late shows because she knew, that I wasn't going to be doing real well with the late-night drunk crowd.
Wow. Yeah, because I heard she used to put a lot of people on late that she didn't feel were ready for the 8 o'clock shows.
Well, part of it's that, and part of it is, like, you wouldn't put up your blue comics first, because then it would be impossible for people to go back to kind of the more intellectual stuff. So the part of it had to do with, who they were like. There were some comics who were never going to be on before midnight because they were just so filthy, and.
Yeah, I heard she used to put Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinison on back to back.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I had to follow Andrew Dice Clay once. That was a treat. But at that point, he was like, he kind of walked half the room anyway, so it was sort of like, it was pretty easy to get him back.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't mean to them.
Yeah. But what do you think of the current state, though, of comedy right now?
It's funny. I actually am like almost more into comedy now than I ever was. There's so many really good comics, and and part of it, I mean, at least when I first started out, you could make a living at comedy even if you weren't good.
Yeah.
Partly because it was before the big cable and the big explosion of all the TV stuff. So at that point, people were actually going to clubs, and lots of clubs were turning to comedy because it was cheaper than a band, and so it was kind of the heyday of live comedy, in a lot of ways. And so in my earliest days, and when I wasn't even that good, I was able to support myself as a comic. Later, I got really good, and I couldn't support myself at it anymore. Just because of the way the industry went, and so much of it went on to TV that people stopped going to the clubs for a while, and then also with just in both San Francisco and Boston and probably other places, just the real estate prices went so crazy that places just shut down, and so there just weren't as many venues. But now, so what happened then, as the economics of the whole thing changed, is that comedy got better because you couldn't be a shitty comic and make a living anymore. It wasn't like anybody could do it, and there was no reason to do it anymore because it got really hard to make a living at it. So unless you really loved it, you didn't do it. And so the quality, I would say, went up. Yeah. And now I think there's so many really good comics, and there's so many different voices that are out there now than there used to be. It used to be pretty rare to get anything other than, there were maybe a few different types, but they were pretty much all white male, straight, talking about the same issues. Yeah. And that's really changed.
Yeah, when I started in 2006, everybody hated me because I was a one-liner guy. And
well, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so you came around during the kind of the more storytelling times, right?
Yeah, it was like the beginning. It was like the beginning of like what it is now. All the alternative comics, people, spending 10 minutes talking about one topic, which is something I do not do. I tried it, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah. No, I'm like you. I mean, I'm a real joke writer, and eventually maybe I'll have a bunch of one-liners about one topic, but it is, like I tell people, I'm a storyteller, but I tell really short stories, and it's just that if that's the kind of comedy you do, that's what you do, and it might not be popular, but you got to do it.
Yeah. All the comedians that I started out with, only like 10 of them are in LA and doing really good right now, and all the rest of them either quit or they're still there in San Francisco, and they're emceeing or featuring in different places and stuff. But like there was only like a couple of comedians I started out with who still talk to me today and were really nice to me. But like all the older comics, they loved me. All the older guys, the ones who were there.
That's good.
The ones who were there during the Holy City Zoo with Robin Williams back in the 70s. Yep. Yeah, I get along with them very well.
And was Ron Lynch there then, too?
Ron Lynch, I think he was.
I actually met Margaret Cho there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what year that was, but
I
met her at the Holy City Zoo the first time.
Yeah, it was already gone by the time I started, but yeah, I haven't met Margaret.
Margaret's very nice.
I'd like to meet her. Yeah, she seems like it. I know a bunch of guys who have met her and stuff. But like all the older comics I know are like Larry Bubbles Brown and Doug Ferrari and Will Durst and Steve Pearl. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all cool. What's your favorite joke of all time?
Oh my gosh. That's one of those questions you got to give someone in advance. I mean, the favorite joke changes, and so even the favorite joke in my own act changes. So I have to get back to you on that one, I think. But it's funny because the kind of comedy I like to watch is different from what I do. I mean, part of it is like I discovered that my style of comedy and what works really well for me, I have to deliver it with like as sweetly as possible. And then I can get away with, saying the sort of outrageous things I might say. But like, I love the angry comics.
Yeah.
But some of my favorites are Julie Goldman. Do you know Julie?
No.
Okay, she's hilarious. I love Doug Stanhope. Brian Holtzman. Now, Brian's one of those ones who pretty much only works like very late night at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And he actually spoke at the memorial. He's like, and it, he described himself as unhireable, which is probably true. But the comedians all really love him.
Yeah, I've seen him on a podcast or two.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think when I was earlier in my career, and I really felt in a way like I was competing with all the other comics, I think I enjoyed it less. And then I kind of got to the point where I didn't feel like I was competing with anybody anymore. In part because I sort of, gave up my ambition. It's like, I'm doing this because I love to do it. And I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, and I almost don't care. Yeah. I'm doing it because I still like to do it, and I still have things I want to say. And, the career part will take care of itself or it won't. And that has just really freed me to just be able to go and enjoy a lot more comedy.
That's great.
And also, I think that in the last so many years, comedy has resumed a really important place in society of really talking truth to power.
Yeah. Oh, when I was starting in 06, I mean, it was going through a slide where nobody knew how to promote it anymore. Nobody knew who to book anymore. It was like an art that was just down in the dumps. And now in the last 5 or 6 years, it's really come back in a new way.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was going to happen, but it sure has.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed,
And it's amazing that, comedians that so many comedians are on the president's shit list. That's a good sign for us, I think.
Oh, yes.
It's we must be doing something important.
Oh, that Michelle Wolf thing. Oh, my God. I never even heard of her until this.
Yeah.
I think she's got an HBO special out now or something.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's HBO or Netflix, but she has one, yeah. And actually she's got a series that's a late night series that's coming out, or is out, I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know she was on The Daily Show or something, but I stopped.
Yes, she was. And her Correspondence Dinner roast reminded me of when Stephen Colbert did it in the Bush years, and really just watching the audience just be horrified and upset, but it was just like, yes, this is what comedy's supposed to be. Yeah. It's really telling the truth, making it funny, and just not pulling punches.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that whole thing. I was laughing my ass off at it. I don't even think she was that mean. I think she was.
I didn't either.
I think she was kind of Seinfeld-ish. during it, actually.
Well, a little edgier than Seinfeld.
Well, yes.
Just, it's so funny you mentioned Seinfeld, because when I was starting out, like, Seinfeld was the big comic, and his style of comedy was really huge. And as somebody who did political comedy, like, no one was doing that, and it wasn't really welcomed, and it wasn't, it was considered a stupid career move. And it's just really nice to see so much of it now.
Yeah, oh God, Seinfeld was so huge that there were so many imitators out there. You'd see them on, like, an evening at the Improv. You'd see guys like Joe Bolster.
Yeah.
Or you'd see, like, Dennis Wolfberg or somebody like that, just being like Seinfeld.
Right.
I mean, he was huge. And now it's like, if somebody's exactly like Seinfeld now, it's like the audiences are not responding.
Yeah. Well, I remember even then, like, I did my first TV spot was on Lifetime on a show called Girls Night Out.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
And when I actually saw it on TV, I just cried, because the way they edited it, they took, like, everything political out of my act, and I had already watered it down, knowing that they weren't going to be that edgy, and then they just took out everything else, and I just was I was like, I don't recognize that person. I don't know what that is. And so a lot of it at the time, people might have had more to say in a club, but it would never make it onto TV.
Yeah.
But thankfully, that's not so true anymore. Well, it's definitely not true anymore.
Yeah, they were always editing out people's sets on shows and stuff. When Andrew Dice Clay was on Rodney Dangerfield's special, he did like 12 minutes, and they cut it down to 8.5, and they did that was a really killer set he did.
I'm surprised they found 8.5 clean minutes for him.
Yeah, I think he was on the longest of all of them. But do you have any other gigs or anything coming up besides the Throckmorton?
Not in the Bay Area. I do here in LA. I'd have to look them up, but I kind of post everything on Twitter and Facebook, so people are interested.
Yeah, I live over here in Redding right now, and there's no comedy scene out here. I do this podcast as my kind of way of being funny right now, and I go back and forth to the Bay, though, like, to do sets and stuff every once in a while.
How long a ride is that for you?
It's like, depending on traffic, it could be 3 hours, it could be 4 hours, and my mom drives me because I don't drive.
Well, that's nice. Oh yeah, so you're way up there. I'm looking at where Redding is. Yeah,
it's a long way.
Yes, you would have to start a comedy scene there, I would say. Yeah. So what about Sacramento? Do you ever go there?
I've been wanting to go to Sacramento. I haven't had time, but I do have a friend who's in the Sacramento scene. She lives up in Citrus, and she told me it's actually a lot more supportive than the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm very willing to check it out.
Oh, good.
And stuff. But Betsy, I thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to talk to me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was really, I appreciate you waiting for me. And yeah, so I'm here. You know where to find me.
Absolutely. And I hope your set goes well on Tuesday. I wish I could make it, but I will make it eventually, though.
Okay, yeah, I'm there a couple times. I've been doing it for probably 12 years now, a couple times a year, so it's kind of like my home club there almost. But I'll be back and hope to see you there.
Absolutely. You have yourself a great day.
Okay, you too, and keep in touch.
Okay.
Bye, Tony.
Bye, Betsy. Well, there you have it, Betsy Salkind. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Betsy. It was great talking about the comedy scene from another perspective. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.